what we do at X Energy is design a reactor that produces higher temperature heat and therefore is opening a market into an industrial base, but it also has a smaller unit size that matches the deployment scale of Amazon data centers much more closely. Historically, when you think about nuclear power, you would think about large gigawatt scale individual units. Those are tens of billions of dollars, and they're infrastructure projects that really can only be afforded by state-owned utilities or the largest utilities in America backed by a regulated base in a regulated market structure. What we're doing is a little bit different, right? So the bite size is smaller, and these are scalable up to a gigawatt in a single control room by taking 12 of our 80 megawatt electric reactors. That's really opened up the total addressable market for us. So to give you a little bit more context, we at X Energy are deploying our first project with Dow Chemical in Texas. It's 4 units, and it's for a combined heat and power system. Nobody's ever done anything like that before in the nuclear industry, but we're actually selling to an end user an asset that will provide heat and electricity, decarbonize the assets that they have at site, and give their existing polyethylene manufacturing plant another 60 years of life. What we're doing with Amazon is analogous in many ways, right? So we're working with an end user with Amazon, and they're funding and providing the offtake for a 12-unit plant as a target. We're going to start with initially 4 and look to expand if everything's going well at our second site, which is with Energy Northwest. And so that's been in the news recently in our work with Amazon. That total addressable market has accelerated drastically, right? I think we've never seen the type of attention or the tailwinds, both from a policy perspective and a market perspective for new nuclear power like we see today. And really, Amazon took a leadership position among its peers when they stepped forward and made a major investment in our company, an investment in a project, and put out a 5 gigawatt electric target for offtake from our reactors by 2039. So I got a question for you, Craig.
Okay.
All right. I've mentioned some aspects of our technology, but our companies have been working together for a couple years. I have the great pleasure of getting to work with Craig and many of his colleagues. When you looked out at the sphere of different energy technologies and your growth needs, it's unprecedented time, and you're trying to grow energy and decarbonize at the same time. Why did you choose to work with X Energy?
Yeah, sure thing. Well, I think we've started to touch on a number of the attributes that were so appealing to us, and that is scalability and clean, firm, 24/7 power, right? So our clean energy targets and our work for now close to a decade has really been centered on deploying wind, solar, renewable energy assets in the grids where we operate. And I think that we knew as data center demand has been continually increasing, and we needed to look further into our own emissions and sustainability targets, that we needed to look at a clean, firm power source to ultimately decarbonize the data center infrastructure that we're deploying. And so as we were looking at the market and working with a number of technologies, we landed on X for the scalability. The clean, firm attributes certainly I think are very important. We also, I think are it's very appealing to us to work with a partner that is already deploying with, to Ben's point, the Dow Chemical project in Texas, because we know at the end of the day, these are first of a kind deployments, right? And so the lessons we learned in initial projects will translate to further successes down the road. And that's why, as we looked at X and we decided to make a pretty significant investment in the company, but also in a 5 gigawatt pipeline, we are really, I think, targeting the idea that if the success that we can make with initial projects will ultimately drive down the cost of this scalable product in the future, and give us even more flexibility to deploy in other grids across the United States and around the globe.
I think we're probably supposed to take audience questions now, right?
I think we're getting there.
So just one other quick thought. As you look at SMRs and technologies that are out there in the marketplace, one of the key features is in order to enable highly repeatable designs, scale, and ultimately a faster deployment and lower cost deployment schedule. A lot of those technologies lean into a more robust safety case that's built into the physics. And so you'll hear things like Generation 4, advanced. There are a lot of overlapping terms. At X Energy, we're a Generation 4 reactor. That really means physics drives the fundamental safety case of these reactors. And we rely on a fuel that can never melt under any scenario in the reactor because of the way that fuel is designed. And it helps enable the types of thinking that Amazon is so good at. Thinking at scale is a way that the nuclear industry has never thought before, and it's something that we chew on every day because of our partnership.
Great. Thanks, Ben. So we've got a few minutes for questions from the audience.
So obviously AI is growing exponentially almost hourly. I mean, it's almost even hard to fathom just how fast it's growing. And it's comforting to know that AWS and the energy companies are working together. The energy climate and the energy infrastructure has to grow with it. And so if you could talk a little bit more about the collaboration and how is the energy sector keeping up with this demand of AI? I mean, it's growing every day. We'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about this collaboration and how are you working together. I know you've said a lot about it already, but I know a lot of people are concerned about the energy consumption required to use AI tools.
No, it's a great question. So let me start by saying we're not keeping up yet, right? So we've got to accelerate, and I think that's what's key to how Amazon's approached their partnership with us. Nobody really 3 years ago looked at a hockey stick curve on power demand, right? And truly believed that was coming as fast as it has. But there's also never been a greater economic opportunity than what AI is enabling in the marketplace. We used to say 2 or 3 years ago that there's never been a greater economic opportunity in at least the last couple of lifetimes than the broader energy transition as we bring new different types of molecules and electrons into the marketplace. Now you're adding in the effect of AI and growth, and so I think that just sort of compounds the effect. We work on a daily basis together. Maybe I should say an hourly basis, going back to your question. So it's a broad partnership in nature. Amazon works closely with X Energy across a number of different key areas, working to help us enable our growth. But I think it's easiest to understand it in relation to a given project. All right, so certainly Amazon helped capitalize our company, which is important for us to complete the design of a reactor. This is not a small game, right? So new nuclear, if you want to design a nuclear reactor that's grid scale all the way to finished design, so you're ready to construct, that's $1 billion plus proposition, and that's got to be patient capital. And so we've had great partners in capitalization along the way, but Amazon helped us take a kind of a step change in our last fundraising round to enable that growth. The second thing is their investment directly in a project and their work with us as a partner on that project has been key. So, you don't know today for sure. There's nobody that in the marketplace can say, I guarantee we can deliver a nuclear power project at this site, at this cost, this operational cost, and therefore a landed PPA price. We're all in the process of developing these designs further, and so the way that we've worked with Amazon is very critical by them taking a key role as an early funder, an investor in the project, and an off-taker. They're on the journey with us and helping us develop the technology and land the cost, ensuring that it comes into a place where they feel confident and comfortable with that power price. So on a daily basis, we're working with our partner, Energy Northwest, the utility that will own and operate that asset, as part of an integrated project team, and Amazon is involved in those discussions, bringing a lot of expertise to bear on how we think about scale up, supply chain growth, and ultimately project management.
Yeah, and I think a really significant part of the partnership that we're talking about, and I think your question around collaboration and building energy infrastructure, is the partnership also with the local utility, right? At the end of the day, the units that we are working to deliver with X Energy, these are not, connected just to a data center. Ultimately, they are grid-connected assets. Like, we want them to, be deployed on the grid, serve not only the load that we're putting onto the system, but also help decarbonize for all customers in this particular region. And I suspect you'll see, other similar efforts in other places soon. But that is the type of collaboration that we have seen is necessary at AWS. working with utilities on topics around, if we think about the Pacific Northwest, developing a Western organized wholesale electricity market. We've been active in that policy space for a number of years. Transmission permitting reform. How can we get more wires ultimately in the ground and delivering for customers, reducing congestion on the system, and enabling us to integrate even more generation resources. So all of that work, happens, I think, at the same time that we're also, running down this really, I think, exciting technology with X Energy to deploy, as soon as possible. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with y'all. We're extremely excited about what we're doing with Amazon. AWS is, the probably preeminent partner we can imagine in this space, and the way that we work together is critical to solving a lot of these challenges. So I think you'll hear more from us together as a team as we continue to work. And thanks for your time and attention.
Thank you.